Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Or something like that from Sopranos or Godfather. Not out. I'm like, not that I'm done with Nikon, but I genuinely felt like, wow, the kit I have works. I have great lenses. I'm so happy with what I have. There's nothing else I need. There's nothing I'm planning to buy. Everything is great. I'm a calm Hindu cow. The 24-70 G2 came out. I was impressed by it. I liked it, but reviewing everything I found, I don't think I really need it. What I have is good. I'm solid. And then out of nowhere, they came out with this guy, which, to be honest, even on paper, I didn't really think was a me camera. I covered it for you guys because there's a lot of videographers in our audience, but this kind of thing doesn't really jump out at me as something that I would necessarily want. I have Z8s and Z9s. They do 8K. That's great for me. The 4K slow-mo is great. They're also dedicated stills cameras, well, not dedicated, but absolutely world-class stills cameras. So they do full double duty for me. So why would I consider this when the Z6 III wasn't something of interest for me? But here it is. And I'm going to run through what I think is great about it and then what my remaining questions were after I first got hands-on with it. The form factor. It's tiny. You know, comparing this to an FX3 or the new Canon, it's like those cameras are wearing a fat suit. This has a better screen and a lot better specs in a lot of ways, but it's this skinny because it doesn't need a fan. And the no fan is a big thing for me. That means no noise and no lower battery consumption, and it's just overall smaller, and it's not something that then is going to get dust and stuff gathering in there. For me, that's a really big one, but that raises some questions. I'm going to get to my questions in a second. The big screen. Fantastic, the best and the brightest, at least on paper, of the different cameras, which for me would be really helpful in filming when I'm doing, say, Z9 work. I frame 8K ultra wide to make sure it's following me when I'm, say, doing Patreon content or making a course and I don't have my videographer. But 6K would be plenty if I knew that I was actually staying in frame. So then having this kind of screen to be able to check that I'm in frame would be really handy. And from there, the use case for me for those shooting scenarios just gets stronger and stronger. I have a boatload of these batteries. I have countless CF Express Type B cards. It has the new hot shoe system with the terminals there, a la like Sony had and has had for ages. But then it's also got 32-bit float, both for the internal mic and for whatever you plug in. It's got the new mic coming, which is a dedicated shotgun, which then doesn't require cables, which is always a nice thing for me. It's doing Red RAW, which they're gigantic file types. I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute, but it is ultra high quality. And then the price. This guy is so much better value than the Canon and Sony, and it's, I think, better value than the Nikon Z6 III. So it kind of checks all the boxes of things that would make my productions easier, and all of my potential, but do I need it, questions are answered by the price and the fact that it has the extra features of the audio on the screen that my other cameras don't. And that I don't need new media, and that I don't need new batteries. But there were two big questions remaining for me that, if they didn't work out in practice, wouldn't be viable. And if they did, would make it hard for me to say no. So the first is, it's great that it has this big screen, but is it actually viewable? If I have the camera across the room or outside, am I actually going to be able to see myself and not only see that I'm in frame, but see that it has me in focus, that the eye or face has a box around it? If it doesn't, the big screen isn't that much value, and having an Atomos with an external cable and extra batteries, whilst that's all a pain in the butt, it's a more reliable system for me. When I can tell you, when I'm doing a 3-camera filming for a course or for Patreon, there's so much going on that I really don't want to be ever second guessing, wait, am I in focus? I need to focus on the script and the model and all of the different camera angles, and is my audio good? I don't want to introduce variables that cause uncertainty. And the second thing is, will it overheat? I live in Hong Kong. It's hot and humid all damn year here. I film often in the desert. I'm often filming long clips. We could do an hour of 8K on 2 or 3 angles, and I don't even notice it. For most people, that would be insanity, but for us, it just happens. I have 200, 300, 400 gig files kicking around that are just extended high-res takes. So if this can deliver on those 2 things, then I probably have a new member of the family. So I have had it in for a couple of weeks now. I've done extensive testing, and I can share my results with you. Let's talk this guy through. Let's start off talking about the overheating or potential overheating. Now, I can tell you the Z9 doesn't. There are some cards that are prone to overheating, and they will overheat. And if you were, I guess, potentially filming in the hottest location with no breeze, maybe the card would get so hot that the camera would force itself to shut down. But with the Z9, I've never had that happen. Cards get hot, but the camera doesn't shut down. The Z8's a different matter. That using cards that don't overheat in the Z9 sometimes do overheat in the Z8, and it does sometimes force a shutdown on the camera itself. I'm not just a Nikon fanboy. I'm going to tell you straight, if I'm doing video and I want the highest frame rates or it's a really hot day, I will go for the Z9. I don't think the Z8, well, I know the Z8 isn't as reliable as the Z9, although in a lot of situations it's still perfectly fine. So where does this guy fit into the scenario? I can tell you that, forget about 8K, if you're doing like ProRes, it's so much bigger files. And if you're doing RAW, like the Z9 and Z8 do 8.3K 60 frames RAW, it's way, way, way bigger files. So the 8K isn't really the issue. So the fact that this guy's only doing 6K doesn't mean much when you're talking about overheating. So to test this guy, I was filming the other day outdoors for a bunch of different videos with Felicia, and we just stuck it on a tripod and basically just let it roll, even though I didn't need the footage, just to see how it would do. Now, because of file sizes, I couldn't keep stopping all the time to change it and reformat and that kind of thing. So we did some at 6K 60p in the Red RAW, but then we did some at 5.3K in just 10-bit at different frame rates, and basically in the sun, shooting, changing formats, but then just keeping recording, so like never cutting for more than 5 or 10 seconds to change the format. It never had any heat warning at all, and that would have been a 30 to 32 degrees Celsius day with humidity. Most of the time the camera in the sun, it just didn't overheat. And that was using Nikon's own branded card, which are hideously expensive, but they are one of the supported ones that are meant to be best for heat. No issues. But if we want to push it, and if we want to have it in a really just focusing on the heaviest of heavy video formats, I got it in studio, and in studio again, it was around somewhere between 25 to 30 Celsius. I kept it at the window, so it was at the warmest part of the house. I had the AC off in this end of the house to do the test, and I'm using the Next Storage 660 gigabyte. This is the B1 Pro. I think they recommend the B2 Pro, which is the latest generation of cards, but this is the one I was using, and in my other Nikons I find this is a great one that doesn't overheat too much. And on this 660 gig card, do you want to guess how much recording time you get using the top quality format 6K 60p NRAW, the Red RAW? You get around 23 minutes in 660 gigabytes. Madness. So I was basically setting timers and then going back, and as soon as it filled up the card, I would reformat the card and then instantly start recording again. So it was getting little 5-second breaks, but that was about it. So I kept recording for over an hour, and then the power was starting to get kind of low, so I plugged in an external battery pack, which itself would generate more heat. And then I kept recording for another half an hour, more than half an hour. So that's over an hour and a half, so maybe an hour 40 of 6K 60p red raw. And at that point, it did overheat and shut down. I rested it for a few minutes and then ran it again, and it continued going until it shut down again. And at that point, it was registering at different parts of the camera 46 to 50 degrees Celsius, so pretty toasty. Surprisingly, it wasn't where the card is or even the back of the camera behind the sensor that was the hottest. It was actually the top plate was the hottest. Maybe that's because it was in the most direct sun. So an hour and a half in those conditions and it overheated, that's what I got. But that was on the normal heat settings. When I set the camera to allow itself to go into higher heat settings, I basically just went back in and kept recording. So all of that residual heat was still in the camera, kept reformatting, kept recording, kept reformatting, kept recording. I didn't get any overheating, not the low heat warning, not the high heat warning, certainly no shutdowns. So in the high mode, it seems like you can just go forever. It doesn't need a fan to keep itself cool. I did use the temperature guns, and in that case it was up over 50 degrees, 52, even 54 Celsius, still no warnings. It was getting toasty to the touch, but the manufacturer says that that isn't an issue. And I have to say, every time, even when it did shut down on the earlier settings, all of the data was intact. I quickly scanned it to make sure the files were there. It finished writing them, then stopped recording, then shut itself down. So we didn't run the risk of losing anything. So there's basically my temperature concern resolved. The screen, much shorter answer on that one. It was fine. I was filming outdoors in glary conditions and indoors in studio. I had it further away than I normally would. I had it about the distance that I normally would for my shooting scenarios. And in every case, the screen was easily bright enough for me to see, even on odd viewing angles, and for me to see that my audio was still connected and to see that the focus box was where it needed to be. It was fine. So, with all of that said, please welcome the newest member to my camera family, although it's not this exact one. Thank you to Nikon for loaning this one to me. It'll be being returned, and once the camera officially goes on sale, which is around the time this video will be going live, I'll be going in to pick one up at retail for myself, and as well I'm planning to get the shotgun mic, and I may get the grip or cage. I'll just have another look at them to see. But for me, it checks all the boxes, and dang it, my goal to not buy new cameras, well, let's see how 2026 goes. Let me know any questions you guys have. Let me know what you think of this compared to the Sony and Canon equivalents. And if you haven't, please do check out the 5-day deal 2025 photography bundle. It's a really great cause, and I'm happy to throw my support behind it. I hope you guys will too. Cheers. I'll see you soon.